Welcome back. Now, the growing xenophobia will be South Africa's downfall. That's the warning from the Institute for Security Studies researcher, Lizette Lancaster. To discuss her report further, she joins us now live. Lizette, thank you so much for speaking to us here on All Angles. This, of course, has been an issue that has been coming since, actually not even coming. It was with us in 2008, and it looks like every year South Africa is seen as a country that's xenophobic. How will this affect us across the world, besides tourism probably being affected economically, etc.?
Yes, thank you. The growing coordination of xenophobia is what worries us the most. We are seeing groups and movements forming and launching in different communities and in different provinces. We have also seen attacks that seem to mirror what we saw in 2008 and 2015, and actually that takes place routinely in our country. But this larger organization and orchestration, coupled with increasing food prices, fuel prices, and socioeconomic woes, is a powder keg that is waiting to explode if we don't act decisively. And the problem is, when we start having this type of reputation, we will see lower tourism, we will see lower economic growth, we will see higher joblessness for everybody concerned. So we're very concerned.
But also, when you say that, the organization of different groups of South Africans against, foreign nationals, whether they say illegal foreign nationals, etc., there's also the possibility that, the foreign nationals will also form their own groups to protect themselves and each other against South Africans. And then now it becomes the possibility of violence and security in our country.
Exactly. When we start seeing more vigilantism, more militias forming, whether it's self-defense groups, as they would probably be calling themselves, we are seeing more extrajudicial type of violence. And we know from recent crime statistics that quite a large number of our violent crime now is driven by vigilante action and group violence. We can almost, where motives can be analyzed for murder and for attempted murders and assaults, we see the police are telling us that close on 50% of murders and these type of other violent crimes are now related to group violence, as I say. Not just vigilantism, but taxi violence, zama violence, the mining violence and such. So we are seeing more and more groups organizing themselves, ironically driving up crime and not having the effects that we are seeing decreases in crime.
Now, let's talk about, the fact that this has been something that's been boiling over from many issues that South Africans feel government is not, supplying or sorting out when it comes to service delivery or making sure that there are prospects of job creation in our country. It starts there, and then South Africans are looking for somebody to blame, etc. And also our borders, border security also being a problem, and the influx of people coming into our country illegally, etc. So this is a very deep-rooted problem that needs political, at least, power to sort out.
Exactly. These problems are not the making of foreign-born nationals or necessarily South Africans. We see a toxic mix of bad policy implementation for decades now. If we had better border security, had we had more growth, socioeconomic growth, if we've had better service delivery, we would have seen less frustrations. So this type of scapegoating is fairly global, in where we see it in places like the US, for instance, where people are blamed for the problems of a society. But we know through fact-checking and such that we can't blame foreigners, for instance, or migrants for these problems. They are far bigger than foreigners. Even if all foreigners had to leave the country and we put up walls on our borders, we would still have these problems, probably even worse, because we know that there have been retaliation in other countries when we have such violent attacks. And then our South African companies get under attack as well. So it is a very big problem that can only be fixed if we have decisive action, people speaking out against this. And we really see efforts for economic growth, policy direction that gives us certainty around policies around migration. And also policing needs to focus and target on syndicates and the drivers of crime, not necessarily just willy-nilly looking, for papers and documents, often of people that are regularly in the country that have amnesty to be here and such. And there's a lot of issues and complications around this issue.
Lizette, thank you very much for speaking to us about this important issue. I know there are many people who feel a bit, fatigued by it, but it really is one of our problems in South Africa. Lizette Lancaster, she's from the Institute for Security Studies. She's a researcher there.